Nobody saw this coming for Yuki Tsunoda. 5 qualifying rounds have gone by, and not once has he broken into Q3. That kind of consistency and underperformance raises serious concerns, not just about the driver, but also about what's happening behind the scenes. Each passing weekend adds more pressure, and Red Bull isn't a place where patience runs long. It's especially worrying when both Racing Bull's cars are regularly making it past Q1. That contrast just makes Yuki's results stand out for all the wrong reasons. At a time when Red Bull is openly optimistic about young drivers like Lindblad, this situation couldn't come at a worse time for Tsunoda. It's hard not to start asking uncomfortable questions. Could there be another driver shuffle on the horizon? And if so, is Yuki the one who's about to be shown the door? Within Red Bull's structure, performance is everything. There's very little room for excuses, and Yuki is running out of cover. His struggles during qualifying are becoming impossible to overlook. Of course, we've heard about how tricky the car is to handle. Even Max Verstappen has been vocal about that. He's had his share of issues too, but that doesn't explain why Tsunoda is being beaten by drivers from teams like Alpine and Racing Bulls, teams that are not exactly setting the world on fire themselves. Yuki did complain about the front end of the car not responding during his hot lap. Lack of grip is always a serious issue, especially when confidence is already low. But in Formula 1, feedback only goes so far. What really matters is whether you can bring the car home in the points, especially in a midfield fight that leaves no margin for error. Right now, Red Bull sees a driver who can't be trusted to deliver when it counts. And that's a problem. A big one. It's not just about a few off weekends anymore, it's turning into a pattern. One that Red Bull might not tolerate much longer. Why I said after the session that he couldn't find any grip. His words were simple, almost resigned. Mate, I didn't have any grip, bro. And while it might be true, statements like that don't help much when you're under pressure from every angle. In Formula 1, especially within a system like Red Bull's, excuses wear thin fast. You either adapt or you're replaced. That's the harsh truth. And right now, Yuki is teetering on that edge. His results don't show progress. Instead, they raise more and more doubt. When a driver keeps getting knocked out in Q1, while others in the same structure move ahead, questions naturally start to fly. Lawson, for instance, was given another shot with Racing Bulls after a rough couple of races filling in at Red Bull. He's already starting to turn things around. But Yuki won't get that same luxury. Why? Because he's had his chance. This is his 5th year in the Red Bull family. That kind of time is rare in a system that thrives on constant movement and tough decisions. It's one of the very reasons he was given the seat over Lawson in the first place: seniority, experience, and supposed readiness. But now that he's struggling, that same logic could be used to move him out. If 5 years wasn't enough to get fully comfortable, how much longer can they wait? Christian Horner made it clear in the past. You can't just stay in the junior team forever. That's not how the program works. It's built to develop and then promote, or replace. And now, with names like Isaac Hayar getting more attention, the writing might already be on the wall. Hayar has been solid so far in the Racing Bulls setup. Even though he was outqualified by Lawson in Austria, he still holds the second points tally in the entire Red Bull pool. Only Verstappen sits above him. That's the kind of stat that makes management take notice. Racing Bull's mission is clear: prepare drivers who can eventually support Max or replace underperformers. And lately, Yuki isn't looking like someone who fits that vision anymore. The truth is hard to face. But Tsunoda may have to come to terms with it. The car and his driving style just don't seem to connect. That mismatch is hurting his results, and no matter how much time he's given, the progress isn't there. Racing Bulls, and by extension, Red Bull, won't keep waiting. Time is one thing no driver has enough of in Formula 1, and with stronger candidates waiting in line, the pressure doubles now. It's important to say that Yuki isn't the only one struggling. Even Verstappen has had his issues with the car. In Q3, a yellow flag ruined what could have been a stronger showing. But Max was already unhappy with how the car felt before that. His feedback after qualifying was brutally honest. The car, it has no grip at all, worse than before. Doesn't matter the corner low speed, medium, high, it just doesn't feel right. And when even the top guy in the system is saying this, you know something's off. But the difference is Max still finds a way to deliver when it counts. That's what separates him from the rest. For Yuki, the inability to push past those limitations becomes a glaring issue. You can only point at the car for so long before the spotlight turns fully on you. Sadly for Yuki, that moment is arriving quickly. The worst part? Red Bull brought upgrades to Austria expecting improvement. Instead, it's made the car even more unpredictable. The performance drop was not just unexpected, it was confusing. Drivers didn't know what to make of it. Yet, while Max still manages to be in the mix despite the changes, Yuki is falling even further behind. And in a system that demands adaptability, that's a huge concern. Perez's past struggles suddenly seem more justified. Maybe he wasn't the problem after all. Maybe it's the environment, the machinery, the expectations, everything combined. Still, that doesn't change the outcome. Yuki has now become a liability in a team where development is constant and results are everything. There's growing belief that Yuki might not even make it through the full season. With the summer break coming up fast, many believe it could mark a major turning point, and if changes are going to happen, that's the window most likely to see them. At the moment, all signs point toward Isaac Hayar stepping in if the team decides to move on. Helmut Marko has already spoken positively about Hajar, which is rarely a good sign for someone currently holding the seat. While a switch to Hajar could be seen as a promotion, it won't be easy for the young French driver either. The car is clearly not easy to handle, and just because Lawson had some success doesn't guarantee the same for Hajar. That said, the opportunity might be too tempting to turn down. In fact, when Hajar was asked whether he felt ready for the seat, he didn't hesitate. "I'm not ready, but I'll take it if it comes," he said. That type of response is exactly what Red Bull likes, honest but determined. In a highly competitive atmosphere, showing fear is not an option. Drivers know that if they wait too long or show doubt, someone else will grab the chance. That's how brutal it is. And while Hajar might not be fully prepared yet, the team knows they can mold a raw talent more easily than waiting around for someone like Yuki to rediscover his form. Even Hajar's team boss, Laurent Mekies, chimed in with a half-joke that spoke volumes. He said he'd have to handcuff Hajar to keep him from being taken by the senior team. While it was said with a smile, the meaning behind it was clear. Hajar's performances are not going unnoticed, and Racing Bulls knows it might lose him. Soon this all points to one central truth: there's no room for long-term underperformance at Red Bull or its sister team. Every driver is evaluated constantly, and loyalty doesn't matter if results don't come. Yuki knows that better than anyone now. The pressure is no longer building, it's already here. Everything now revolves around one young name, Lindblad. The British-Indian-Swedish driver competing in Formula 2 has already raised eyebrows with his consistent pace and calm under pressure. Some are even wondering if he might be the next major breakout from Red Bull's system. His results aren't just good, they're impressive enough to make seasoned F1 watchers stop and think. What makes the whole situation more ironic is that Lindblad is set to take over Tsunoda's car in FP1 at Silverstone. Yes, the very seat that Yuki's been struggling to protect will be driven by the young prospect, alongside Verstappen. That sends a strong signal. Red Bull is already evaluating options on track, not just behind closed doors. But make no mistake, Lindblad isn't expected to be thrown straight into the main team. Instead, the plan is to let him build experience with Racing Bulls before being considered for a full Red Bull seat. Still, the message is loud and clear. The management is already preparing the next step. If the current drivers don't deliver, the bench is ready and it's strong. In a dramatic turn, if Verstappen ever decides to leave, Lindblad might even be positioned for a quicker promotion. But that's not something Red Bull is hoping for. They're planning carefully, giving him time, not rushing the process. And while all this is happening, Liam Lawson is making the most of his second chance. After a rough introduction to Red Bull races last year, he's now putting on a much better show. In Austria, he was the highest-placed qualifier among all Red Bull-linked drivers, and that wasn't a lucky fluke. Even with Verstappen getting caught out by a yellow flag, Lawson showed genuine pace. That kind of result doesn't just boost his confidence, it puts him right back in the picture for future races. The internal competition is tightening. Everyone's looking over their shoulder. If you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And in a setup as cutthroat as Red Bull's, falling behind means you're out. Lawson's rise isn't just about individual moments, it reflects how Red Bull handles talent. The Racing Bulls team was created to sharpen upcoming drivers, test their limits, and see who can survive the pressure cooker. Lawson, who was under massive criticism not long ago, has now turned things around. From Q3 appearances to scoring valuable points in Monaco, he's proving that he's not just filling a seat, he's fighting to keep it. And with that kind of fight, the conversation around Yuki becomes even more uncomfortable. It's not just about his lack of results anymore. It's about how quickly others are stepping up while he stays stuck in a cycle of complaints and excuses. Saying, "I had no grip," can only be accepted so many times. Eventually, teams want to hear, "Here's what I changed to fix it." But that never came. Red Bull's senior figures have been clear in their approach. They want drivers who can handle setbacks, learn fast, and bounce back. It's a business of performance, not potential. The belief in Yuki has slowly eroded not just because of his struggles, but also because others have shown more promise with fewer chances. The patience has run out. And even though Christian Horner once praised him for taking on the toughest job in F1 being Verstappen's teammate, that compliment doesn't carry much weight when results are missing. We're now approaching a point where decisions must be made. Will Red Bull wait until the end of the season to act, or will the summer break be the breaking point? Signs suggest the latter. Lindblad's upcoming FP1 outing, Lawson's improvements, and Hajar's quiet readiness all point toward a team preparing to shift gears. In this harsh environment, results speak louder than words. Yuki had the platform, the time, and the experience, but instead of rising, he's sinking under the pressure. The Red Bull system doesn't give second chances forever, and unless something dramatic changes immediately, it looks like the next seat swap is just around the corner. So, where does that leave Yuki Tsunoda? Likely at a crossroads. One path leads to redemption, but only if he can turn things around fast. The other leads out of F1, and in a sport where every lap counts, time is not on his side.